So, got the exam on Wednesday. Make sure you show up on time. You kind of know the format now. Bring a number 2 pencil or bring a couple number 2 pencils, all that stuff. Most of the questions are going to be, there'll be 100 questions like usual. Most of the questions are going to be multiple choice and then maybe a few true false thrown in, okay? So same as, you're used to this by now, hopefully.
Yeah.
In terms of the breakdown in number of questions per chapter, it looks something like this. So that was nervous tissue. And there's 43. 13 was spinal cord, spinal nerves. And there is 29, which then means that for brain and cranial nerves, there are 28. Okay. How many trick questions? 100. Yeah, all of them, 100%. It's a perfect hit rate. They're all trick questions. I don't know. Maybe 1 or 2 trick questions. I don't know.
Don't do like a muscle spin plate. Don't do that, please. It's
Don't
already hard enough.
Oh, okay. I don't want to insult your guys' intelligence by making this too easy. That's my thing. I'm really concerned with that. All right, let me get through this quick because I know I'm going to run out of time. So, we're just going to go in order. Chapter 12 is the nervous tissue chapter. What are the 2 main divisions of your nervous system? Central and peripheral. Good. And then central is what? Brain and spinal cord. What's peripheral? Like everything else. And then for the peripheral, remember there are 3 subdivisions. What are the 3 subdivisions of the peripheral? Somatic, autonomic, and enteric, right? Which of those guys are involuntary? Autonomic and enteric, and then somatic is voluntary, right? Remember that for each of those 3 divisions, there's going to be a sensory part and there's going to be a motor part. By definition, the sensory part is always taking the signal where? It's taking it toward the central nervous system, and motor is always bringing it away from the central nervous system, right? So let's talk about somatic first. So for the somatic division, the sensory branch of the somatic division, are you consciously aware of the sensations for somatic sensory?
Yes.
Yes. So this would be hooked up to things like your skin or like your special senses, things that you're consciously aware of. Then there's going to be the motor part of somatic. Somatic motor neurons. Do you have voluntary control over somatic motor?
Yes.
Yes, because they always go to what kind of effectors?
Skeleton.
Yeah, what kind of muscle? Skeletal muscle, and that's important. All right, autonomic nervous system, it's going to have sensory and motor also. Are you consciously aware of the sensory part? No, it's monitoring like internal body conditions. What's your blood pressure? What's the pH of your body? What's the, your body temperature? So it's information that you're not consciously aware of. And then for the motor part, can you voluntarily control the motor part? No, it's involuntary. And that's because it's going to what types of effectors? Smooth muscle, cardiac muscle, or glands, right? Now, the other thing about the autonomic motor is, remember, they like to divide it into 2 branches. What are the 2 branches of the autonomic motor? Sympathetic and parasympathetic. What's the nickname for the sympathetic? Fight or flight. And then the parasympathetic is rest and digest. All right, good. And then lastly, there's the enteric nervous system, which again, what does the enteric nervous system control?
Gut.
Yeah, your gut. It's the brain of the gut. It controls digestive function, basically. Functions of the nervous system can be grouped into 3 basic functions. Sensory function, which happens using sensory neurons and sensory receptors. Integrative function, which is happening once the information gets sent into the central nervous system. It's sort of the processing, analyzing the information. And then the third function is the motor function that's done by the motor neurons going out to the different effectors. True or false? Neurons are the only types of cells in nervous tissue. False. You also have neuroglia. Don't forget about them. They're still pretty important. 3 main parts to a neuron. What's the three main parts to a neuron? Cell body, dendrites, and axon, right? The cell body is where the nucleus is. It's pretty much like a cell body on any other cell. One thing that's kind of distinct about it is the clusters of rough ER that are called Nissl bodies, okay? That's a key thing to look for. Information comes in through the dendrites, goes toward the cell body, and then if the signaling's strong enough, it will continue and go out along the axon, right? The connection spot between a neuron and another effector cell is called a synapse. Let's see here. Keep in mind that neurons are really long, can be really long cells, so they need transport systems within them. There's slow axonal transport, there's fast axonal transport. That's just a way of getting different materials from different areas of the neuron, okay? Something to be familiar with. Now, neurons, in terms of their shape, what are the three shapes that neurons come in? Close. Multipolar, bipolar, and unipolar, right? Multipolar are the ones that we've been drawing most commonly. Remember, multipolar, most of the neurons in the central nervous system, all of the motor neurons, they are multipolar. Which of the three types is the least common? Bipolar is the least common. You find them in some of your special sense organs. Like we'll see bipolar neurons when we talk about the retina of the eye, the inner ear, the olfactory area of the brain. And then lastly, unipolar. Unipolar, when you hear those, think sensory neurons. Like some of your somatic sensory that connect up with like some of your skin receptors, like Meissner's, Pacinian corpuscles. They all are connected to unipolar neurons. And remember, they're the guys that create that bulge that you have on the dorsal root ganglion, right? That's the cell bodies of these unipolar neurons that's sitting in that dorsal root ganglion. All right, let's talk about the neuroglia, though. Everyone's always hating on the neuroglia, but let's talk about the neuroglia. Which do you have more of, neuroglia or neurons? You have more neuroglia by as many as what? 25 to 1. So they can outnumber the neurons by 25 to 1. They do lots of different things. 4 types of neuroglia in the CNS. What's the type that makes the blood-brain barrier? Astrocytes. What's the type that produces CSF? Ependymal cells. What's the type that can do phagocytosis? Microglia. And then who produces the myelin in the central nervous system? Oligodendrocytes. Who produces the myelin in the peripheral nervous system? Schwann cells. All right. And then there's also something called satellite cells, which are like general support cells in the peripheral nervous system. Speaking of myelin, what is the purpose of myelin, or what does myelin do? Where do you find when you have myelin? Where do you find it on a neuron? Surrounding the axon. And what does it do to the neuron?
The transport's faster?
Yeah, it speeds up the electrical signaling. By how much? By like about 5 times faster, right? So if you could do 20 meters per second in an unmyelinated axon, you could do about 100 meters per second in a myelinated axon, okay? Remember that when the signal travels down a myelinated axon, it jumps from where to where to where to where? It's jumped